it's the strongest point that Zelensky has going for him at the moment, which is that he has the promise of American and in particular European protection in the future to prevent a future war.
The Ukrainian President Zelensky has urged Donald Trump to provide US security guarantees for Ukraine for up to 50 years to ensure that a peace will last for decades. He's been speaking following talks on the peace deal discussions at Mar-a-Lago in Florida. President Trump has said progress has been made and an agreement to end the war was 90% there. But issues such as the contested Donbas region remain undecided. This is Trump responding to reporters at a press conference last night.
The word agreed is too strong. I would say not agreed, but we're getting closer to an agreement on that, and that's a big issue. Certainly, that's one of the big issues, and I think we're closer than we were probably. It's unresolved, but it's getting a lot closer. That's a very tough issue, but one that I think will get resolved.
Well, I'm joined now by the Times' former defence editor, Michael Evans. Welcome to the show, Michael.
Thanks. Hi.
What's your take on the progress of the peace talks? Is it just bluster, or is real progress being made?
No, I don't think it's bluster. I mean, I think it's not just Trump talking to Zelensky. We've had, numerous meetings with all the top officials going on for weeks and weeks. So I think, after each meeting, progress is made. And I'm sure the Mar-a-Lago meeting probably got rid of a few complex issues, and they are slightly closer. But in many ways, sorry to say it, they are still as far away from a peace settlement as they were several weeks or months ago. And the reason for that is, as you already pointed out, and Trump has pointed out, is that the territory situation is still the same. There's a complete impasse between Zelensky and Putin over the Donbas region. There are elements of the Donbas. If you look at the map, for instance, there are elements of the two provinces in Donbas, which is Luhansk and Donetsk, which are either only partially controlled by the Russians or are not controlled at all. And there's a slab of territory which is key to Ukraine, which is controlled by Ukraine. And I cannot envisage any scenario in which they will be willing to give up this stronghold land, which they see as key to protecting the future of Ukraine, even if there is a peace deal.
And what about Zelensky asking for a 50-year guarantee for security? Is that a realistic prospect, a realistic ask?
I think it's a very sensible ask. I don't see the point in having a security guarantee that only lasts 15 years. 15 years will go by very quickly, and Mr. Putin will no doubt still be president of Russia. So if I was Zelensky, I would certainly ask for 50 years. Trump said that he will consider it, and I think he will talk to NATO officials and others about the possibility of extending it. But right now, he's been given 15 years, and I guess that's better than nothing. I mean, it's the strongest point that Zelensky has going for him at the moment, which is that he has the promise of American and in particular European protection in the future to prevent a future war. That's the strongest leverage that he has. He really doesn't have much other leverage because a lot of the land of Ukraine has gone to Russia, and I don't think Russia has any interest in stopping the war at this stage. So the backing of Trump and the backing of Europe is Zelensky's biggest hand, and if he's going to get 15 years, he'll hang on to that and hope for more.
Brilliant. Well, Michael Evans, Times' former defence editor, thank you for coming on the show discussing what is real and not in terms of the negotiations between Ukraine, Russia and the US for a ceasefire in Ukraine. Donald Trump and Volodymyr Zelensky met in Florida last night. They said progress had been made to end the Ukraine war, but the US leader added one or two very thorny issues remained. Let's hear a bit of the press conference that took place afterwards. President Trump was asked whether he had spoken to Vladimir Putin about the reconstruction of Ukraine.
They're going to be helping. Russia's going to be helping. Russia wants to see Ukraine succeed. Once, it sounds a little strange, but I was explaining to the president, President Putin was very generous in his feeling toward Ukraine succeeding, including supplying energy, electricity, and other things at very low prices. So a lot of good things came out of that call today.
Obviously, President Trump, as usual, bigging up Russia, and it does seem pretty depressing, Seb Payne, what's going on, except to say that there does seem to be the prospect of a real ceasefire, because both sides, I think, do want some kind of a pause. So maybe President Trump will come out of this smelling of roses.
Well, there was a great piece in the Sunday Times yesterday looking at outline the fact that both sides are starting to get very at the end weary in the end of their resources with this war, that everyone insists they will keep fighting, so of course they have to, but from Russia's point of view, its economy is on its knees, and obviously it's all being buttressed by the war and the fact that so much of its GDP is just producing war equipment. But that will eventually hit the buffers, and that could happen in 2026. And on the Ukrainian front, they're facing the prospect of having to lower the conscription age, which again would be something that would be very unpopular for Volodymyr Zelensky to have to do. So, as you say, it's very much in everyone's interest to try and get a ceasefire and see if that can be permanent. But whenever I look at these talks, Ed, I'm just still very skeptical about how any of this thing is going to happen, because President Putin keeps on saying that he wants the Donbass to go back to Russia, or go into Russia, I should say, which was once obviously part of the Soviet Union. And Volodymyr Zelensky has said that it could be a demilitarized zone, but that's not what Putin wants. And Putin hasn't shown any signs whatsoever that he's willing to resile from his demands to hand over territory. So it's good that we're getting good mood music here. It's good that Donald Trump is listening to Volodymyr Zelensky and engaging with the details, but I'm still just quite skeptical about what this deal is going to look like. And don't forget, every time these talks happen between the US president and the Ukrainian president, Russia unleashes wave after wave of drone and missile attacks on Ukraine. So, they're saying one thing, that they want a ceasefire, but on the other hand, they're still absolutely relentlessly attacking Ukraine.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree with you more. And I mean, in some ways, the fact that Russia won't play ball is to me a good thing, because it will force, I think, at some point the US to get off the fence, as it were, or get off the Russian side and back Ukraine.
President, do you think Putin is serious about peace this time?
I do. I think he is. I think they both are.
What was your message to Mr. Putin?
Got to make a deal. Got to get it done. Too many people dying, and I think both presidents want to make a deal. We believe that they're going to brief you.
What do you expect? We need Putin again soon?
Depends. I do believe that we have the makings of a deal that's good for Ukraine, good for everybody. It's very important. There's nothing more important, in my book. Settled 8 wars, and this is the most difficult one. I thought it would be in the middle of the pack. This is the most difficult one, but we're going to get it done. We're going to have a great meeting today. This gentleman has worked very hard, and he's very brave, and his people are very brave. I mean, what they've gone through, no nation, very rarely has a nation ever had to go through this. So we're going to have a very good meeting today, I think, and I'm also calling President Putin back after the meeting, and we'll continue a negotiation. Pretty complex, but not that complex.